Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about 10 pieces of advice to start dressing vintage. And by vintage, I mean 40s, 50s, the kinds of things that you see me do all the time. So let's get started. Okay, so the first piece of advice that I can give, and probably the most important, and I'll explain why, is to learn how to do hair and makeup. Now, if you are a man or someone who just doesn't want to wear the makeup, or someone who identifies, whatever. If you don't want to wear the makeup, you don't have to. If you don't want to do the hair, you don't have to. But for those of you who want to really learn how to do it, it really helps. And I'll tell you why. So you can wear anything. This dress isn't even vintage. This dress is literally from H&M, but it looks vintage on me, doesn't it? It looks 1930s, 1940s, because I'm wearing the hair and makeup. If I took my hair down and straightened it, this would look very, very different than what it does now. The hair and the makeup can make all the difference, and it's so crucial, if you want, that you learn it well, because it really just makes any outfit. So that's probably the most important piece of advice I could give. Moving on. I just wanted to say, if you guys watched my Q&A video, you probably heard me repeat a lot of this advice, but this is me going a lot more in depth with each step. Next up is investing. You need to invest time, you need to invest money. Time would be to practice things, and to practice your hair and practice your makeup and practice basically everything like that. If you wear heels, practice walking in those. But you also need to invest money. If you are just starting out and if you don't have money, or if you're younger and you don't have like disposable income, invest in one good pair of heels. I suggest black or white, because black and white goes with basically everything. I also recommend that you invest in a solid crinoline or petticoat, because if you're going to have to need one. You will need one. That is a staple to get that iconic silhouette. So you will need a petticoat, and I suggest you get a good one so that way it lasts you. I have one that I bought so long ago and it still lasts me to this day. Lasts longer than all the newer ones that I bought, and I steamed it, so that might be why. But invest in a good petticoat and take care of it. Take care of it. Invest in one or two pairs of shoes. Like I said, again, I suggest black and white, and take care of them, and they'll take care of you. That's the best thing that you can do. Number 3, use accessories to your advantage. Accessories include things like petticoats and heels. Use those to your advantage. But it also includes gloves, hats, scarves, jewelry, anything like that. Anything that's not the dress is an accessory. So use it to your advantage. If you're wearing a dress that doesn't quite look vintage, like I said, this dress can be styled many ways. But the way that I'm wearing it, the necklace, this was actually an old vintage earring that broke that I had, so I turned it into a necklace. A very simple piece of delicate jewelry. It could look modern, it could look vintage. These are definitely vintage. The heels that I would wear with this are vintage. I have gloves and hats. You just have to learn how to accessorize, to take away or to add on to whatever you're wearing. I have a plain black dress, swing dress, not even vintage, got it from Amazon. But if you can accessorize and wear like a cute cardigan with some nice heels and do your makeup and hair and wear some jewelry with it, it's going to look a lot more vintage than what it really is. So use your accessories. Use anything you have, make it match, make it cute, make it fit your outfit, make it work for you. So the next piece of advice, and this isn't relating to vintage fashion, this isn't anything relating to clothes, get thick skin. Okay, you're gonna have to deal with a lot of stuff when you dress alternatively. You're gonna have to deal, the compliments always outweigh the insults, but you're going to have to deal with people insulting you and judging you and asking you questions. People are always gonna ask you questions. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. You're gonna have to answer questions. You don't have to, but like people are going to expect you to answer questions. And you're gonna have to get thick skin, because sometimes people are gonna ask things that are gonna come off as really rude, even if they don't mean it to. If they're like, why do you dress like that? that might not be with malicious intent, but sometimes it's how it sounds. So you're gonna have to answer these questions, and you're gonna have to just be able to be like, okay, well, I dress this way because, you know what I'm saying? You're just gonna have to get thick skin. It's just, you're gonna have to. Piece number 5, you don't have to buy authentic vintage to make it vintage. Like I said, this is from H&M. This is seriously one of my favorite dresses because it looks so old, but it's cute. The only thing is they have slits going up the sides, which I'm not a fan of, but I'll stand up so I can show it to you. This dress, it looks old. It looks vintage. You know what I'm saying? You don't need eBay and you don't need authentic vintage clothing. You can make it look vintage. You just have to know how. So, there. You can shop on Amazon. You can shop from repro stores. If you don't know what repro is, basically it looks retro but it's modern. So sites like Retro Stage, I'll put the link in my bio because you can use my code for 15% off. There are plenty of websites, there are plenty of stores that aren't authentic vintage, that are cheap, that are affordable. And don't let anyone tell you that you have to do authentic vintage. Don't let anyone tell you that you have to do this or that, because you don't. It's fashion. It's not, there are no rules to fashion. If there were rules to fashion, then people like me wouldn't exist right now. So don't let anyone tell you that you have to do something a certain way. You don't. Piece of advice number 7, and this isn't pertaining exactly to the clothing itself, learn to sew. Learn to sew. And I promise you it works wonders, because there are so many pieces that I have that I've gotten that came ruined and like they didn't tell me. Or there are pieces that I've seen on eBay, I'm like, oh man, $20 for this authentic 1940s gown. What's wrong with it? You know, things are never that cheap. And if things are ever like $20 or lower, chances are something's wrong with the dress. So like I'll scroll through the pictures and I'll be like, oh, there's a giant hole in it. Okay, cool. And I'll buy it and then I'll fix it up. Learn to sew because it will save you money, it will save you time, it's also just a good skill to have. This dress was actually torn. I don't know if you can see it. I can't remember it was on this side. This entire seam was ripped when I bought the dress because this dress was on clearance for like $10. It was also torn on one of these seams. I can't remember which one, but it was torn. The point is, if you learn to sew, you can fix up stuff and get vintage at a cheaper price. And not only that, but if you're wearing something and it tears, if I lift my arm up too high, chances are this is going to rip. And if this rips, I'll just be like, oh, okay, no worries. And I'll take this little spool of thread and a needle and I'll just stitch it right up. Learn to sew. It will help. I promise you it will help. And plus, then you can say you know how to sew. So there's that. Number 8 is find some close friends or like a support group. If you're gonna start dressing vintage, sometimes things can get a little rough. Sometimes you can be like, oh my God, you'll never believe what this person said to me today. Sometimes you'll need advice. Sometimes you'll be like, I don't know what to do with this dress, or like, I just need some help. I need some advice. Make some friends that are either vintage dressing just like you, or just some really good friends that just might know how to help you, or at least listen to you when you have problems, because there's nothing worse than being in a friend group that's like, oh my God, shut up. All you ever talk about is vintage clothes, or like nobody cares about your vintage clothing, or just like nobody cares in general. First of all, you shouldn't even be friends with them if they say things like that to you. But if you really do need help with something, get a friend group or get some friends or a support group or whatever that will say like, oh, okay, well, you know, I'm sorry that this happened to you. That's horrible. Or I think you look really good today, actually. Or, oh, here's where I bought something like this. Get some friends that are kind of like-minded, or at least really nice to you, so that way you can turn to them. It really helps. It really does. Tip number 9, learn to pose. It's so important because people are always going to be like, oh, can I take a picture of you? Not always, but sometimes it happens. Like if you're in public or if you're at Dapper Day at Disney or something like that. I've never been, I want to go, but I'm confident that people take pictures of other people. Sometimes people want a picture and that's fine. Like obviously you don't have to say yes, you can always say no. But even if you're taking pictures for yourself, dressing vintage is already a confidence boost. But if you're going to dress vintage, take some pictures, post them online. Like be cute, let the world see how amazing and gorgeous you are. Learn to pose, because what good is a stunning outfit, a poppin' outfit, a gorgeous outfit if you can't take a picture properly? So pose, learn to pose. Not hard, just learn to pose. That's it. And tip number 10, the most important one, is to do it for yourself and have fun with it, of course. And you're probably like, oh my god, that's the most cliche thing you could have possibly said. Correct. It is, and I kind of cringed when I said it. But it's true. It's true. I dress vintage for myself. I do everything that I've ever done in this world for myself. For me. Me. And that's the best way to do it, because at the end of the day, like, you go to bed with yourself. Even if you're married, you're with yourself for the rest of your life. You feel me? So do it for yourself. Make yourself happy. Don't do it for anybody else. If anybody else comes up to you and they're like, I think you would look really good not in this, or that color kind of sucks on you, I suggest you wear blue instead. Screw them. Wear that color. Wear that color the very next day and spite them. Do it for you, because you need to make yourself happy before you make anyone else happy. And the sooner you realize that, and the sooner you tell yourself, I look good today and I don't care what anyone else thinks, the better you'll be, the better off you'll be. Because then you can walk out the house feeling like the bad bitch you are, okay? And that's the most important thing. Because if you love yourself and if you do it for yourself, then you'll have the confidence. And that's what people aspire for. There you go. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you can dress vintage someday too. If you have any questions, feel free to message me, DM me, leave it in the comments, whatever. I will see you all next episode, and I love you all. Bye-bye.